Have you ever wanted to just be in your own world? You're just enjoying your time, doing whatever you want to do, completely oblivious to other people. Have you ever been guilty of that? Oh, sorry. That was odd. Uh, I'm recording this video today because I had a really funny experience at the gym. It was just the other day, and I go to one of those super gyms where you got a sauna, you got red light, you got all the bells and whistles. And so I went to the gym that afternoon, that evening, and I wanted to use the sauna. So I stepped into the sauna, and it's not a huge room. It's meant for 8 people or something like that. And there was just 2 people. It was just me and then another woman. And as I got into the sauna, I noticed that some music was playing, and the sauna doesn't have speakers. It doesn't have something built in. And when I ended up looking at this girl, she had massive headphones on. We're talking like DJ caliber, soundproof. They looked awesome. It's the exact type of thing that I'd want to have on my next plane trip. I mean, they were awesome. And they were not plugged in. So I think they were meant to be Bluetooth. They were wireless, but she is sitting there in the sauna and just doing her thing, scrolling TikTok and having a grand old time. Meanwhile, I am sitting there, probably from me to you. Again, there's like an eight person sauna. It's not huge. And for 20 minutes, I had the good fortune of experiencing her TikTok with her. So I learned a bunch of new recipes. I learned a bunch of ways to treat curly or frizzy hair. I'm now an expert on that. So I'll take your questions in the comments. But as I was sitting there contemplating, should I tell her that I can hear everything that's going on? Should I tell her that what she thought was a private moment is actually being shared by the entire room? And I decided not to. I just sat there and kind of chuckled. And it's 20 minutes of my life. Who cares? It's not a big deal. I also found myself getting annoyed at times. It's just like a heart check. Again, reminding myself, Bob, who cares? It's not a big deal. But I thought it was a really good metaphor for how we can act and how we can react at times when we're thinking selfishly. Now, this video is not to at all say like who is this girl, let's find her, and she did something wrong. It was an honest mistake. We've all been there. She thought she was listening to her headphones, and because they were so big, she could still, I mean, even though they were that big, she could still hear the TikToks through her headphones. She just thought they were plugged in. So what I'm getting to is sometimes we can be so focused on ourselves that we miss other things that are going on. We miss the other people that are in the room. And so I think about what Paul writes in Philippians. It's Philippians 2, verses 3 and 4, where he says to do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. In humility, consider others more important than yourself. That is such a challenge. How do you consider others more important than yourself? Not less than, not even equal to. He says, consider others more important than yourself. Then in verse 4, he says, do not only consider your own interests, but also consider the interests of others. So as I was sitting there in the sauna, and again, it was fine. It's 20 minutes of my life. I got what I wanted to out of that. I went in there to get a good sweat. But as I sat there, I knew I'm probably going to end up talking about this because it was just such a good metaphor where sometimes we, metaphorically speaking, spiritually speaking, can throw on our big fat headphones and say, okay, now this is me time. I'm going to go in my cocoon, and this is about me. I'm going to block out the world. Meanwhile, as we're thinking those things, we are actually affecting the world. We're affecting the people around us. I think sometimes we can think that our selfish thinking, or it's become very popular to call them boundaries. I'm putting up boundaries with this. Sometimes in our creating boundaries, we forget what Paul says in Philippians. Other people are more important than you. Other people are more important than me. And that goes so against our flesh. Our flesh tells us we are the most important. We need to put up boundaries. If I don't put on my oxygen mask before I help other people, how can I possibly help other people? I need to come first. And there's some wisdom in that. There's some nuance to that. But if you bring it back to the Godhead, the relationship, Father, Son, and Spirit within the Trinity, they have forever and always sought the good of the other. Father to Son, Son to Spirit, Spirit to Son, elsewhere. So it was an interesting exercise for me. Number one, to kind of tamp down the annoying feelings that I had. It's like, Bob, get over yourself. This is 20 minutes of your life. It's not a big deal. But also to make me reflect in my own life. Where are there areas or where are there times where, out of selfishness or maybe even a lack of awareness, this girl had no idea that I was learning all of these recipes, that I was learning all of these hair care routines. She had no idea, completely oblivious. And so it wasn't something that was done maliciously. She wasn't trying to annoy me for those 20 minutes, but because of her inward thinking, because of those big headphones, she just had no idea. And I think as we grow with maturity, both in a worldly sense and in a spiritual sense, we start to become more aware of the things that we're doing. And we start to become more aware of how we affect people. I can think back on some things that I've done, some things that I have said. I'm like, man, I would never do that again. I would never say that again. That was just so insensitive. That was so really immature. Why did I do that? And there were times where it was done out of anger and sin and my flesh. There were other times where it was just, are you really going to get mad at the 4-year-old for saying something that he shouldn't say? Now, maybe you're not 4, maybe you're 24, 34, 44. There comes a point in time where we are supposed to mature, but we all have varying degrees of maturity, of awareness. So to bring this video home, my challenge to you this week is to take a look at your life, your circumstances, your surroundings, and ask yourself, how can I put other people's interests above my own? How can I step more fully into service? How can I even maybe sacrifice? How can I not consider my own interest the most important thing on the agenda? How can I act like Jesus, put others before myself? That is the challenge today. So hope you have a great rest of the day. We'll see you here next time.